All right, welcome back to the Fire Frontier channel, where we talk about how to be financially independent, retire early from the point of view of yours truly, Derik Jensen, and my wife, my partner, Jasmine. Now, in this video, I want to talk about something that's really near and dear to my heart, and that's the topic of finding fulfillment by living on less. One key aspect of the FIRE movement is being able to save money. And then a lot of people struggle with the thought of compromising their quality of life and also being able to save, right? So by going into this process, that's one thing that we've learned to consider is quality of life versus being able to save. Looking at it from my own point of view and perspective, I come from sort of humble beginnings, right? Where I've had to find fulfillment and joy in the simple things and, almost envy the people that always had something new or something fresh or something to flaunt. Initially, I've come from that background, and then throughout my early childhood, my teens, and throughout my early adulthood, I was in a situation where I've had to learn to find the fulfillment and joy and happiness in not necessarily having to have the newest thing or always spending money on scratching that itch. In this video, I want to share how I've learned lessons from that and literally changed my mindset, because now that I'm in a situation where I can afford to live a more luxurious lifestyle. It's interesting because coming from a humble beginnings and then moving on to a phase of my life in my mid-20s where I started moving to Canada, I started having a job and having some cash flow and income, and then not even knowing how to spend that money. It wasn't the biggest amount of money, making $30, $40, $50, $60,000 a year. It wasn't a lot of money per se for some people, right? But coming from not having as much to spend, not having disposable income for recreation or entertainment or things that you can just easily buy and pick up, food, meals, things like that, there's a big shift, right? And then moving on to the next phase where I've unlocked and tapped into even more higher income earning potential. It was the same, coming from not having a lot. It had two effects. One was that by being deprived of it initially, what I did when I came across financial resources is I just spent it. Spent. And not up to recently, the last 2-3 years, and more so the last few months, have I started to think about saving up and then building long-term stability and savings and setting up for the future, right? So it's almost like a full circle journey where the lessons I've learned in my humble beginnings, I'm now being reminded of those lessons to apply to something that I'm planning for the future. With that said, there's always, again, the factor of the lifestyle. In this video, I want to talk about the 4 things that allowed me to find fulfillment while living on less, right? So let's get started. All right, if you are struggling with the idea of finding fulfillment while spending less without compromising your quality of life, then in this video, I want to talk about the 4 mental shifts that really helped me be able to do that. Let's jump in. Number 1, it starts by knowing what truly makes you feel fulfilled. A lot of people make the mistake of, again, following trends, being swayed by social media, public opinion, seeing what's new, what's fresh, the new release, the marketing, the buzz of everything, right? The sales of everything. A lot of us fall into the consumerism mindset of always wanting to have the newest thing, unfortunately, right? And these marketing companies, they do a good job creating branding material, story to really make you feel like you do have to have that. But at the end of the day, you really want to assess yourself, right? What truly makes you feel fulfilled? The next thing is you want to be aware of how that then translates into your fulfillment, right? So you identify what you spend on. You spend on a phone every year. You spend on a fancy meal every night. Tally up your spending and then try to assess if your level of fulfillment and your criteria of quality of life fits that. And if it doesn't, then it's something that you can cut out, right? Something that you can get rid of without decreasing your level of fulfillment. On the flip side, you can identify things that make you feel fulfilled that may or may not cost as much, and it's something that you can double down on. So to give you guys an example, for me, what makes me feel fulfilled is having the time to be creative and expressive, right? Because in my core, I feel like we are creative beings, and then the world is our playground to create, right? That's one of our untapped God-given gifts, is our ability to be conscious and to create. So for me, I want to be able to express that, have time for that, and put my mark, right? And see what my creativity can bring, right? So for me, that's my core level of fulfillment. My second level of fulfillment is being able to, or knowing that I can take care of my family, not just in the short term, not just in the present, also in the future. Again, coming to the age that I'm at right now, I have friends, I have family that, they start to need some aid. Life throws curveballs at you. And unfortunately, it's a reality that we all have to be ready for. During my younger years, it's something that I might not have considered. Now that I'm thinking about it, planning for it, saving for it, and knowing that I have a plan for it, it gives me that level of fulfillment that, keeps me going. Another level of fulfillment for me is being inspired by new experiences, right? So that could include traveling to new places, trying new food, new drinks, talking to new people, having new insights, capturing new ideas, right? Expressing new things, having different types of interactions. If I'm able to do that, then that also adds to my level of fulfillment. Now with those three, I sort of use it as my North Star to then guide my spending and then guide my actions to make sure that they align to that. If I see something that I want, I'll decide, does it help achieve my core level of fulfillment, right? Will it help me on that goal? Always balance and check with my levels of fulfillment. It helps achieve that. And if not, then it's something I consider not doing. That's one way I've used just knowing what makes you fulfilled in actually managing your spending and making sure that you keep funding what makes you feel fulfilled and you actually stop spending. So for example, that then allows me to decide on certain action items. So with people, are they creative? Are they going to bring value to me? Are they going to help support that goal? Do they bring me inspiration? Same thing with places to travel, experiences, things like that. And also giving back to the community, making sure that, the work flows through me in a sense, and also delivering work of value to people, to industry, to clients. If I keep my actions towards those, I know I'm staying fulfilled and I know that I'm aligned towards that goal. Number two, the second mindset shift that's really helped me with finding fulfillment living on less is delayed gratification. So a lot of people, they fall into the trap of wanting something and wanting something now, immediately. And unfortunately, again, in our society, we're trained to be primed for that, right? Amazon primed for that. 24 hours, same day delivery. I think it, I want it, I buy it, it's here now, all right? So which convenience, efficiency, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And speed of work, absolutely. I'm all for that, right? And there are ways for you to get the gratification immediately, but also delay it in a sense where you prolong the period of waiting, and then once you achieve what you want to achieve, or you finally get to celebrate, right, that win, the feeling of delaying that gratification is much better than if you would have just taken that gratification every day. It's the same thing. There was an experiment done with toddlers about how, or toddlers or younger age people, no quote me on this experiment, but it's pretty much leaving the room and asking them not to eat a marshmallow. And then the caveat was that if they come back and they do not eat the marshmallow or the cookie, they get 2 cookies. They observed children that are able to do this, and the children who do not eat the cookie delay the gratification, not only enjoy 2 cookies, they go further in life. I think that also applies into being able to save more, or also being able to be financially independent, right, and retiring early. Because you don't fall into the trap of consumerism and wanting things immediately just to scratch the itch. Instead, you learn to delay the gratification, enjoy what you have now, and essentially even enjoy it at a deeper level once you've fully maximized what you have. So for example, there's a lot of people that buy toys, technology, that just sit around everywhere, right? If you see some of these fanboys and fangirls, they have everything from this gadget to that gadget, multiple gadgets that most of the time don't get used to their full potential because they're just sitting around, right? They get sad. These gadgets get sad. They're not maximized, they're not used. So instead of wanting to just keep getting the newest thing, being able to learn to appreciate what you can do with your one thing, for example, and then having something good that comes out, something great that comes out of using that one thing, that might bring you more gratification than if you were to just have distractions and not have to focus on it, right? So delayed gratification, it's a big hack, and honestly, being able to achieve something when the build up to being able to achieve it, learn to love that process, the grind, and then learn to appreciate the big win that comes from the grind, and then get to celebrate that, right? Because then that becomes so much more impactful than just taking small celebrations, like celebrating every day, for example, right? So that's the second one. Third mindset hack is really defining and giving fulfillment your own meaning. It's almost a way to trick your brain, right? Because ultimately, we're all living a personal experience within ourselves. The crazy thing is that we can give as much or as little meaning to the simplest or the most complex things that happen to us in life. So that could be a simple interaction, that could be a smile, that could be a home-cooked meal, that could be a phone call, that could be taking care of your dog, petting your dog, feeding your cat, right? So they could come in the simplest ways. They could also come in the most complex ways, like making $1 million, $2 million, $1 billion, building a company, building a software company, a startup, scaling a business, building a huge empire, right? But the bottom line is that you have the power, we all have the power to give meaning and create fulfillment for each of us, right? It could be the simplest thing or the most complex goal that you've achieved, the biggest goal that you achieved. But every interaction that you want to give meaning to, that's yours to give meaning to and find fulfillment in. For me, for example, it's being able to travel and see new things and find just some joy in the simple things too. For example, a simple home-cooked meal, right? Being able to have time in the day to breathe, or doing something special for my wife to surprise and delight her, making her cup of coffee in the morning and seeing that smile, for example. And it also goes as complex as being able to be a big shaker of the marketing industry that we're currently in. The point is, you're able to define and give meaning to pretty much anything, right? Knowing that, you now have the ability to not feel unfulfilled, right? To always find ways to give meaning to things. And one way I love to do this is also writing things down, right? Because another thing I do give a lot of meaning to is my own thoughts, my story, my journaling. So I journal a lot, right? And then putting down my thoughts of what gives my life meaning reinforces those thoughts, and reviewing those and reminding myself of those thoughts, especially when I'm not feeling the best. It's one way to reignite that feeling and then again get yourself back up from any rut that you're in. All right, so the last one, the fourth mental shift, finding fulfillment in things that you already own. Again, going back to consumerism and people wanting the newest, freshest thing, it's something that you can easily not fall into, you can easily avoid by appreciating what you already have. And this is really a lesson I learned when I was younger, right? Because when I was younger in elementary school, in grade school, believe it or not, pens were hard to come by, right? Pens and pencils. So for I think 6, 7, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years of my life, my classmates would steal pens. They would take your pen. If you don't look, they take your pen, right? And it's really not that easy to just, go get a pen. Now here, pens are everywhere, but back in the day when I was growing up, pens were hard to come by. From having that experience up to this point, I'm in my mid-30s now, and I've learned to really take care of my pen. And I'm obsessed with a specific type of pen, a Pilot G-Tech pen that I've kept for years. I recently lost it, and it actually gave me a small, it made me feel sad a little bit, right, that I lost my pen. I know it's not a big deal, but me and that pen go way back, right? I have a lot of memories with that pen. I wrote a lot of notes with that pen. I brought a lot of my creative ideas with that pen and the journal. I'm attached to the pen and the journal. But, having the ability to appreciate the tools that help you then maximize yourself, right? And not having to always have 10, maybe few other pens, just one pen, one notebook, get the job done, learn to appreciate it. That's one way that I've really shifted my mindset into not always wanting, the biggest, baddest thing, right? And just maximizing what you have as well. All right, so if you stayed till the end, thank you so much. I know it's been quite a minute, but try to implement those 4 mindset shifts and then see if you can find fulfillment while living less, right? And if you have other tips, feel free to drop them in the comments and then let us know. Is it something that's doable, not doable? How are you doing it, right? Any other strategies from you? Feel free to share them below, and then we look forward to checking you out on the next one.